This is Abu Jiran camp just before everyone left. The displaced people living here had to flee, leaving behind their few remaining possessions.
And they all left because over a period of 5 days, the whole area was bombed very heavily. So the camps full of IDPs plus the city of Safira itself was under heavy bombardment for 5 days. And pretty much every member of the population had to leave, those that weren't injured.
In 5 days, the fighting left 76 people dead in Safira alone, and a further 450 injured. A hospital supported by MSF was badly damaged by a barrel of TNT dropped from a helicopter. MSF was assisting the displaced before these violent attacks started.
We provided training to the healthcare structures that were there, and we provided tents to the IDPs themselves because they were living under, bits of canvas or whatever they could find, really. But generally our aim was, rather than take over the whole activity, was to try and support the activity that was already there, to try and help people to really organise themselves.
The town and camps in the surrounding area are now almost empty. The displaced people have moved on and are once again seeking refuge, in Manbij, for example, northeast of Aleppo. They have to go wherever they can, as reception sites are already full. As winter approaches, many families are utterly destitute. This scene is all too common in countless villages throughout Central African Republic. Homes burned down and inhabitants hiding in the bush. In Bosongoa, in the north of the country, 28,000 people have sought refuge at the Catholic mission compound. All have fled the violence of armed groups.
The violence erupted all of a sudden. They took our cattle and they killed my father.
Armed men came to my neighborhood and started shooting. We fled to the bush or to our fields, but they came there to hunt us down. I've lost everything. They looted my house. They even took my ID card.
People come back during the day to cultivate their land and sell their produce in the market. But at night, the Catholic mission is the only place where they feel safe.
The current situation in and around Bosongoa is very tense. Any small incident could result in bigger violence.
MSF is currently working in 10 towns in the country. The teams are concerned for people who have fled into the bush and have no access to humanitarian aid. For the time being, they are left to fend for themselves. Another day in the burns unit at Rouya. Once the children have seen the doctor and have received their daily treatment, they play to pass the time. Jennifer and her little sister Shaha have been here for 2.5 months.
My house caught fire because of a candle. I wasn't there when it started. I saw the flames when I came home. 3 of my children were inside. Jennifer and Shara were severely burned. My 3rd child is better now.
Only a short time ago, the burn unit was under canvas. It has now moved to the permanent part of the hospital, which has enabled the team to improve quality of care and living conditions for patients who often spend several months in the unit.
Jennifer is Shara's big sister. She's had some difficult moments, but she's better now, and her burn injuries are almost healed. She'll probably be allowed to go home next week. Take a deep breath.
There are 2 categories of burns in the unit: domestic burns, often caused by poor living conditions, and electrical burns caused by makeshift installations.
People are walking in a street and an electric cable falls on them, and we've seen several cases where somebody is on a motorcycle and the cable falls down as they ride past. The electric current burns their hands and they fall off their bike.
Changing dressings regularly, avoiding infection at all cost, and performing skin grafts when they are needed. This is the primary care we provide to our burn patients. Then the physiotherapist Michael steps in to help limit the after effects of the burns as much as he can. These sessions also offer children a short break from the unit. The Gavi Alliance held a meeting in Stockholm at the end of October to review its work on children's immunisation. While there is undeniable progress, much still has to be done. Over 22 million children still have no access to routine immunisation.
10 years ago, we were able to vaccinate in routine immunisation against 6 vaccine-preventable diseases, and it cost about $1.30. Today, we can vaccinate against a dozen or so vaccine-preventable diseases, but a full course of vaccines will cost about $40.
So the challenge is to facilitate access to vaccines at a reduced price for all actors, including humanitarian organisations. Only recently, MSF spent almost a year negotiating in order to finance a campaign to immunise 5,000 refugee children in South Sudan against pneumococcal diseases. But price is not the only issue. Maintaining a continuous cold chain in countries with frequent electricity outages and where temperatures easily exceed 40 degrees makes setting up immunisation campaigns significantly more difficult.
It's a frustrating thing when you see that a measles vaccination that is so easy to give and should have been just such a normal thing for all children to have, that you see that because of rupture of cold chain or rupture of administration, that children are dying for something that could so much be prevented.
MSF is now calling on Gavi for further investment in developing so-called heat-stable vaccines that don't require refrigeration. Thousands of preventable deaths may be averted if this investment is forthcoming. The number of people with tuberculosis in Buenaventura on Colombia's Pacific coast is 3 times higher than in the rest of the country, and many of them suffer from resistant or multi-resistant forms of the disease. To facilitate earlier diagnosis, MSF is supporting the municipal laboratory, which uses several tools, including microscopy, microbiological culture, and an innovative and more advanced technology, GeneXpert. These different tests help to determine which form of the disease patients have and monitor the progress of treatment. But further improvements to the diagnostic process need to be made.
To treat resistant tuberculosis, we have an average of 4 to 5 drugs per patient, and we need to know if these drugs actually work. To establish if they work on patients, reference laboratories perform tests for drug resistance.
But these reference laboratories can be slow, and in Buenaventura, the medical team has to wait several months for the results, far too long to ensure effective treatment.
We medical staff treating patients can't wait 5 months for results that should only take 1. We need to change the patient's treatment if the disease is resistant to the drugs we initially prescribed.
Every month lost has a huge impact on patients who start treatment for regular TB but in fact have a resistant form of the disease. Development of drug resistance, side effects and the risk of seeing that treatment doesn't work all cause distress that could so easily be avoided. For MSF, it is crucial that the diagnostic process be improved. Calazar is one of the names for visceral leishmaniasis, a parasitic disease spread through the bite of sandflies. Left untreated, it is fatal. But many people don't know the symptoms. and patients often live far from clinics where they can get treatment.
I was ill for 5 months. My son did everything he could to earn money to help. He had to get involved and take care of me. My wife was very worried too. We had to run around looking for money to travel to different places. It was a difficult period.
The currently recommended treatment takes 1 month, but some regions are reporting that it is less effective than previously. There are, however, other shorter and more effective treatments. MSF teams use the drug ambisome. In order to deliver healthcare services at community level, they train local medical staff on administering the treatment in primary health centres. One of the challenges is maintaining the cold chain.
Yes, a cold chain can be maintained at local clinic level. We have all the necessary means and facilities. If a medicine needs to be transported somewhere, it travels in an icebox. This is the case for ambisome. It's not a problem at all.
There are other treatments available too. Studies are underway to determine which are best suited to conditions in the field. Ambisome has enabled MSF teams to treat 9,000 people over the past 5 years. Despite the logistical challenges, they have proved that it is possible to bring quality treatment to patients even far from big cities.